the human rights, as someone who believed in democracy, if at the age of 22, I could be one of the people upon whose shoulders rested the desire for democracy in Nigeria, and I delivered very well some 8 years later to the point that 1999 we had democracy. I was one of the few people that went to prison for it. I was one of the few people that was expelled from the university. We did street marches. It's just like saying to someone that because Mandela never governed a local government or a state, is not qualified to be president of South Africa after spending 27 years in prison. Or even Obama. Obama did not govern a state. He came from Illinois. He even failed, to win an election as a House of Assembly member. And then after he gave a speech, he became a senator for a few months, and later became president, and one of the best. So when countries are looking for leaders, they are not looking for failed leaders who have terrible experience. I'll give you an example. The current president of Nigeria could have been the most experienced human being in the history of the country. He governed what used to be to the states, Gongola, now to the states. He went on to be the Minister of Petroleum Resources. He managed the biggest slush fund in the history of Nigeria, PDF, under Abuja, and then became president again. And he became head of state. He was head of state, military head of state, and then he became president again. Well, look at where his experience left us. The same thing with former President Olusegun. And if his assertion were to be true, why is it that every governor did not become president? Only 2 governors have become president of Nigeria before. That was Yaradua and Jonathan. If you look at Jonathan, he wasn't really a governor. He was a deputy governor who became governor by accident. And then vice president who became president by accident and then became president by election. So when people make these assertions, it's just baffling, and like you said, it's calling me a child at the age of 51. This is just ridiculous.
We're bringing another caller joining us. Remember to keep your comments as civil as possible. Engage with the issues, and it would be good. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, my prince.
Good morning, Taking Bay. Good to have you.
Yeah, welcome, my prince. Good morning to my comrade, my brother, and my mentor in the house, Mr. Sowore.
Thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead, Taking Bay.
I happen to know about Sowore during his arrest, detention. And the time I listened to him speak, I said, this must be someone that has something to offer, someone that has something upstairs. And I've been following him since then. He is passionate about the Nigerian people. He's passionate about the Nigeria, as a country. And he's passionate about the African people, when you listen to him talk. And he's passionate about the well-being of Nigeria. Because I think someone like Mr. Sowore, he has enough food to eat. If it is not that he wants other people to live well, he will not be fighting today. I don't think someone should start the house today. But he's fighting today because he wants other Nigerians to live well. So, I really want to commend him. And, having said that, my problem is that when I hear people talk and I believe in them, but when they go into government public, it's like that evil spirit that will take over some people. They will not keep to their promises. They will not do what they have said they will do. Like when I have some people say they will make $1 naira to $. They will make people 40 naira. They will pay all the graduates. They will not see it in 7 years. So I wonder. And when you ask them, they will even deny. So the question I want to ask you this morning is that what will he do differently when he gets to power? And secondly, in the issue of one person will be alleged to have stolen more than 1 billion. What will he do to stop corruption? Thank you very much.
All right. Please respond to that quickly.
Without having any power, I'm answering the last question now. With no official power, you can point to me as one individual that has fought corruption even more than all the anti-corruption agencies combined together. Since 2006, with Sahara reporters, I cannot count how many thieves, political thieves, I had used the platform to catch. And some of them ended up being arrested, being tried. It's not my duty to ensure that they get jailed, because a lot of them also got away, because before the trials are concluded, the witnesses would have disappeared. Some of them would have recanted. But I've done so much work in the anti-corruption area that you don't have to doubt that if I didn't have official power, it would be a walk in the park. But here is what people should know, that this is why I said integrity is more important than the useless experience of these political leaders. And I'll keep criticizing them. I must keep scrutinizing them. They've practically run this country now and its people and their dignity over the years, strip everybody naked. There's no point for us to keep sugarcoating how much this country has been destroyed. So he's saying that people going to office make promises. Well, I'm not part of those people, and I resisted any attempt to even join government my entire life. And this is to people who say, oh, maybe some people promise you anything. No, I've never been interested in public office on the level, or those levels where people get appointed. Otherwise, I would have worked with Jonathan when he invited me to join his government through a guy known as Toronto Douglas, who is now late. And several other governments have approached me, even when I was younger. I was approached with car, gifts, money, and all that, and I rejected, and I still do, and I've challenged people. If I've ever been involved in those things, nobody has come out. So, yes, the problem with the people in Nigeria who vie for office and make promises is that, honestly, most of the time, they are not talking, they are not speaking to us. But you go and vote for them regardless. Look at this regime. How many times did you hear Buhari promise anything to you? Honestly. And it's the same mistake we are making now. We are listening to those people who are not campaigning and not listening to those of us who are campaigning. I'm in this station today. I came in the rain. I'm talking to you. I'm not saying that, oh, you are too small. But the other candidates, especially the ones you call major candidates, most of them have not had a single interview since this election cycle started. And most of them are not going to be interviewed. They don't have anything to tell you. But regardless, you keep calling them top 3, top 2, and then the people that are top 2 are the people who are not campaigning, who are not making any promises. Those of us who are making promises, who have integrity, who have a known history of resilience and resistance against liars, you come and question us, you are too small, you are a child, and it is a child that is managing France at the age of 32. It's a child that's Prime Minister of the United Kingdom at the age of 40-something. Obama was President of the U.S. JF Kennedy was President of the U.S. at the age of 39. So a lot of young people are managing the world, but you are more comfortable with voting for your ancestors. And then when the chips are down, you now be looking for Sowore to become an advocate, Soyinka to become an advocate. Where is Falana? But when they present themselves, like Gani did in 2003, you say that they have no experience. But you keep voting for the experienced thieves. Good luck to you.
When the going is good,
yes.
People come around you, but when the chips are down, they all run away. The conversation continues. Keep it with us. Well done.
No network. Let's keep charging.
And yes, when things go good, when things are going on well, everybody seems to be on your side. When it feels like it's not working so much, they tend to run away. That's William Oyabo there with the song "When the Going is Smooth and Good." My guest this morning is Omoyele Sowore, human rights activist and presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, joining us and sharing thoughts with us this morning on the issues and how he intends to do things when he becomes president, and looking at the campaigns kicking off in a few days from now, how prepared they are. You too can be a part of this conversation, ask questions and engage the presidential candidate. Call 09073530044 and 09087668888. Now, Mr. Sowore, we're going to be speaking to the issues now. Nigeria is economically not doing well. It's a terrible time for the economy. Inflation going up. Unemployment rates really high. All that stuff. Exchange rates is something. It's nothing to write home about. How do you intend to fix this if you become president?
You see, Nigeria is suffering from years of neglect and the right kind of investment that we also have made when we had an oil boom. And you cannot escape it when you mismanage your economy over time. There's no way these indices will not come and be staring you in the face. And part of the problem is what we're all faced with now with regards to the educational sector, for instance, where you shut down your universities for 8 months practically over a conversation regarding investment in the higher institutions of the country. And instead of resolving it, you are going around, looking for judges to help you intimidate lecturers to go back. And the question I asked on Twitter, if your lecturers go back, are they going back on empty stomach? It's people who have not had their salaries paid for 7 months, and you get a judge to give you an order to go back to work. The judge ought to have also given an order to everybody selling eba and fufu and soup in the country to give them free food so that they can go back to school. But to just stay away from that for a moment, my solutions to bring back the economy is to industrialize. And when you say industrialization, you cannot do it with the right investment in power in particular. Because, yes, most of the time we want to talk about security. Security is a symptom of the bigger problem of inability to produce anything. The value of the naira is largely because of two major things. One, our macroeconomic policies are not being handled the right way, by the right people. For instance, the exchange rate for the naira is more than one, depending on the connections that you have. And when that is happening, you just having your macroeconomic policies managed by money changers. You can never stabilize the naira. The naira would never have value. Also, until you start producing something that can be sold in the country. This country is importing virtually everything, including toothpicks. So, what we call our foreign exchange, our foreign bank account, the earnings we have, it's just the collateral for the rich, because they are the ones importing everything, and you need this backup out there instead of investing at home, so that they can keep enjoying the luxury of life that they have chosen for themselves, while the rest of us will just be scrapping the bottom of the pot. And that needs to change by way of production. And you cannot industrialize or produce if you don't have power, or what we call energy. You cannot be producing miserable 3,000, 4,000 megawatts of electricity in a country that is in need of 62,000 megawatts of electricity. And when you even have 7,000, you don't have the transmission capacity to do more than 3,000. And you're there complaining that, the economy is not working. So massive investment in public works, massive investment in the energy sector, in the educational sector, in the agricultural sector will bring back a Nigeria where people can find jobs. It will bring back a Nigeria where people can produce, and we can be selling something to the rest of the world that will make our currency worth it. Otherwise, we're just here deceiving ourselves. And I'm saying that it is those of us who understand how the world works that can do it. Not all this World Bank and IMF economics who come and tell you every year that you need to tighten your belt. My father tightened his belt, my grandfather tightened his belt, I'm tightening my belt, my children are tightening our belts. But the rich people in this country, are not tightening their belts.
When this administration leaves office in 2023, they said that they would be leaving behind around over $60 trillion in debt. Now, how do you intend to source this funds to do this massive investments that you're talking about?
See, debts are not particularly bad if you have an understanding of how the world works. What Nigeria is having the biggest problem with is debt to revenue ratio. Our debt to GDP ratio is actually very low. Not very, very low, but fairly lower than most of the countries around us on the continent of Africa. So it is that revenue that I'm targeting immediately, including stopping all these thieves who are stealing 700,000 barrels of oil on a daily basis from this country. 700,000 barrels of oil is not a bucket of water. Yes, and this thing is being done at the highest level. So you have an NPC that doesn't drop a dime for the last 7 months or so, but they are buying jets. They are able to fund all kinds of extravagant lifestyle of the political leaders and all the politically exposed persons. Like I like to say, which I've been quoted of saying recently, that the NNPC is the first part of Nigeria to secede. Because they're just on their own. It's a government within a government. And you have to bring them back so that you can be getting the revenue that belongs to Nigeria. So now you've got to privatize it. You say it's a company, something that belongs to the whole country is now registered by a few people. That has legal implications. So there are a lot of places that, loopholes that can be plugged. The other time we were talking about 54,000 workers, fake workers in the country, ghost workers that we were weeded out by IPPIS. That's just in the federal sector, in the federal government, civil service. What about the police? What about the states? And several other spaces around the country that things are being mismanaged. And I know that we do not have competent hands managing the most sensitive sectors of our economy. If they mention to you people who are managing revenue, accruing agencies in the country, you'll be shocked. There are people who just sit down there and just allocated money to themselves. And they turn around and they sort the rest of us that the money was taken by a snake, a cockroach someday. And I don't know the last animal that stole money in Nigeria, I think the monkey. It's just how these people don't respect us.
It's actually the last one.
Yes,
now let's look at insecurity, which is one of the biggest issues Nigerians have to grapple with as Nigerians. Insecurity is biting hard, and they say it seems like the president who was a former military personnel, who should have known how to tackle this, promised to tackle it within 6 months and all, came in and really couldn't solve the problem. How would a civilian who probably hasn't had military intelligence or military knowledge and all or skill be able to tackle insecurity as a person who's planning to be president of this country? How do you intend to solve the security problem?
That's what I was addressing earlier, the issue of experience. That's why when people throw around the word experience this, experience that, which is it's ridiculous. You don't need a military general to lead a country to curb insecurity if you understand where insecurity comes from. Insecurity comes from inequality. That's number one source of insecurity in Nigeria. People are always available to take on any criminal activity that can help them survive because they have no employment, they have poor education. There are 20 million kids in this country that are out of school. In another 10 years, 20 years, you're going to have a different level of insecurity on your hands because you didn't send them to school. But don't forget that with the minimalist education system we have here, the UK, US, and Canada just came and took over 8,000 doctors away from us after COVID. If we didn't train them, where would they get the doctors from? And we're saying, look, make the investment right now. Take those 20 million kids out of the street. Give them whatever education you can afford them, even if it's done under a tree. Let there be education, because otherwise we are going to pay for the cost of ignorance down the line. That's where insecurity came from. And this economic inequality where some have too much and some others have nothing is always going to be a cause of insecurity. So to solve the problem of insecurity, you must have 3 different strategies put in place at once. First is the immediate problem. To ensure that you arrest the situation, whatever you can throw at all these criminals, bandits, you call them, terrorists, through collaboration, intelligence gathering, if necessary, bringing in, as I typically would say, even though I'm not proud of it, if you have to bring in mercenaries, bring them in to stop them. and then subsequently start building real security agencies in the country. I have been complaining about the role of the police. 350,000 policemen, all of them are guarding empty houses in Asokoro. You go in front of the house, 6 policemen with 6 AK-47. The rest of us,
we have a caller. We have a caller. Hello, good morning.
Yes, my friend, this is yes, calling back.
Quickly, please.
Yes, I've been listening to your guest, my brother and my mentor, Mr. Sowore. You see, another thing, I'm worried is that when you talk about becoming a president, fine, I don't have any problem with that because this Sowore is overqualified to become Nigerian president. The same way someone like, Peter would be, but I'm worried that when you don't have governors, you don't have senators, you don't have, House of Representatives, and you're a president under your party, and you are just a president. Do you think they will not frustrate you? Do you think you will succeed?
Okay.
That's my fear.
All right, quickly, let's respond to that and then we'll
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that particular question. You see, I'm of a revolutionary mind, and my position is that the job of the president is so important that you cannot worry about who is elsewhere. Everybody, if I'm president of Nigeria, I present my blueprint to the Nigerian people on how I want to solve and tackle their problem. Let some 109 people in the Senate say, oh, you don't have a right to provide employment. You think the Nigerian people will just be watching and say, okay, yes, they are holding us to ransom, 109 of them. That's so sad. We are helpless. If you're a good president, the Senate will go with you. The U.S. at the time had a president from the Democratic Party. Majority of the members are from the Republican Party. They agree on things that will work for the country. And I expect the same thing. I will carry them along because they are paid to be in those positions. An average senator that is collecting 14 million naira a month should not stop a project or a program or policies that will take 200 and something million people out of poverty.
Okay, we have a question here on WhatsApp. It says, good morning to you and your guest. My question is, how can he tackle the issue of Nigeria Police and contributory pension scheme when elected president? Saidu sent that one in. How do you respond?
The police is one organization that we sure be disappointed in. And my disappointment this time is not SARS. But how do you allow people, the Nigerian police, how do you allow civilians to be stealing your pension? I cannot tell you how much has been stolen from the police contributory pension scheme because it's not designed to work for the police. What we should do is to take it away from all these elements who are running them as their own personal ATM or piggy banks and make it work like pension schemes in which your contributions are transparently made, transparently invested, and when you retire from the police, the day you retire, we don't need to be asking you to come and fill paperwork. It's automated. Your pension scheme, your pension is getting to you, so that you don't suffer so much. But see, on a more serious scale, I have said it. I have a special program for the police, even though they've broken my nose and beaten me up and roughing me up my entire life. No policeman carrying an AK-47 in any country should be earning less than 250,000 naira. You should be earning as much as a banker that you are protecting with your life. Yes.
Omoyele Sowore, human rights activist and presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, AAC. Thank you so much for being on the show this morning.
Thank you for bringing me.
And to everyone who's been a part